Hey, Brittany here, and you're watching the Living Beyond Asana vlog. And for the next couple of weeks on the vlog, I'm going to be talking about Asana. So if you want to learn little interesting tidbits on how to really align on your body in the practice, maybe working with certain injuries, make sure you keep watching. Right? So today, we're going to talk about a particular word that is often used by teachers in the yoga practice that I always try to steer clear of, and I always teach my students, my teacher trainees, to steer clear of as well. Right? So, can you guess what that word is? Take a moment, think about it. Chances are you've heard this word in your yoga class at least once, especially if you take vinyasa classes. It's used a lot. Right? So the word is sink, right? S-I-N-K. Right, so you'll hear teachers say, sink your knee down, sink your hips down into chair pose, sink, 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 sink. And this is a word that I very much try to avoid, right? So why would I try to avoid this word when giving cues to students? I will tell you. So think about it. Think about what you think of when I say sink. Right? So in the sense of a yoga practice, you might think of like lowering your body down. But really, like sink is the first thing I think of is a sinking ship. When something's sinking, it's kind of lowering because there is an instability there, right? So if a ship is sinking, it's not a good thing. Right? So to sink the body down doesn't necessarily elicit the feeling of engagement and power, right? So let me show you an example of sinking, right, in the postures, which a lot of times if people have flexibility, a lot of over flexibility in their bodies and not enough strength, they're going to sink. So let me show you what it looks like to sink in a lunge, right? So here in a lunge, right? And here's me sinking. Let me actually do the other side because I have an injury on that side. My body doesn't want me to sink there. So this side I can sink. So let me show you what it looks like, right? Right, so this is me sinking into the posture. Right, there's no engagement here. This is just me kind of dropping my body down. Right, this is me sinking in a low lunge. Right, this is the sink, right? It's just this like dumping of the weight down, right? Sinking in this posture down, like I'm sinking, I'm digging my body, just trying to find that flexibility, right? So let me show you the difference between sinking, right? Just this kind of like releasing completely down in a pose that's supposed to elicit strength, and finding a balance between stability and flexibility. Right? So instead of sinking, I'm going to squeeze in through the body, through the legs, through the feet. And then from there, I'm going to draw my tailbone and pull the low belly up, finding power in my hips. And I'm going to lower my body down. You still can lower, but you don't want to push or press or sink. You want to lower at the same time lift. Right? And then that lifting creates this power, right? So instead of pushing really strong down, sinking down without that support that's pulling back up, right? Without that, my hip flexors will overstretch, right? I'll feel, for me, I feel a very strong pressure right in my hip flexors, right? This can also put a lot of pressure on the low back. So instead of sinking down, you want to think of it, the opposite of a sinking ship, as buoyancy, right? You want to think of being buoyant in these postures instead of sinking down. And that's for most of them. Unless you're in a restorative practice or in Shavasana, you don't want to sink into these postures. You want to press down into the floor using your foundation, whether it's your feet, your hands, the back of the head, so that from that there's power, and that power engages all the way up your body, creating strength, stability, and support, so that the flexibility comes from a space of power and strength. Okay, so to the yoga teachers out there, consider this. Considering shifting from using the word sink to something that is maybe a little bit more indicative of what you actually want them to do, right? And the question is, do you really want them to sink? When sinking really does demonstrate an idea of a lack of support in some way, right? Mindfully lowering your body, drop your body, bend your knee deeper, right? Those, for me, are a little bit more powerful. And to the students out there, just recognizing that when a teacher is telling you to sink, you want to remember, like, on your own, to balance that drawing down with buoyancy, power, and strength, right? So that you're not just dumping your weight into these postures and potentially doing harm to your joints and really to the muscles, right? So give that some thought. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you think sink is a really good word to use, I want to know why, right? Because this is just my opinion after 12 years of experience. But hey, right? Somebody else could have a different opinion. So if you do, and you're a yoga teacher and you think that word is effective, let me know why. Okay? I will see you next week with more asana talk, and be well. Peace. Namaste.